What's going on, Nicholas? How are you?
Moose and Maggie, what's going on? Happy Football Friday. How we doing today off a great Knicks win last night over the hated Chicago Bulls? Love it.
Held on for dear life late, Nick. Held on for
so
dear
annoying,
life
man.
late, Nick.
It's like the Boston game, a carbon copy. Like, can we stop with the Julius Randle, like Kobe ISO ball here? Like, he's not Kobe Bryant. Can we move the ball at the end of the game here, please? This stuff is starting to drive me nuts, but hard to argue with 4-1, right? And being happy to start the season.
Yeah, they are 4-1. You're right. It's good to be a Knick fan. It's been a while since we've been able to say that. Now, like last year and then this year. All right, Nick. Let's talk a little local football. Let's start with we'll get to the Giants on Monday night in Kansas City, but let's start with the Jets. They're taking on the Bengals. White in at quarterback. The line sitting at 10.5. Jets just got embarrassed, lost by 41, as you know, to the Patriots. Bengals had their way with the Ravens. What about when you're looking at a side here between the Jets and Bengals?
Now, full disclosure, I don't think I'm going to bet this game. Like, I can't imagine that I'm going to have any money on this game. Maybe if like it hits like 13, I'd bet the Jets. I would never bet the Bengals here. Like, as crazy as that sounds, and I'm sure that there are listeners right now or viewers that are like, well, the Jets suck, the Bengals are good, the Bengals just destroyed the Ravens in Baltimore. And that's true. It's just like a really unfamiliar spot for the Bengals to be in terms of the point spread, right? Like, the one time this year they were even like a semi-decent favorite like this was week 3, Thursday Night Football against Jacksonville. They were 7.5-point home favorites and really should have lost that game outright to Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, if not for some hideous offensive play calling coaching from Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's not that Cincinnati can't win the game 30-3 or Jamar Chase can't have 200 yards receiving or Mike White can't be absolutely brutal. Like, of course those things can happen. It's just like a numbers play here. And anything above 10, I feel like it really is like it's Jets or nothing. It's probably going to be nothing for me. And I can tell you that a lot of professional bettors feel the same way that I feel. That doesn't mean that we're going to be right. The Bengals could win by 27. Just that I don't know that they merit at this point yet being double-digit favorites on the road against another NFL team. That's like not the Houston Texans.
All right, Nick, is it too early to talk about the Monday night game? It looks like Kadarius Toney, practicing today, and that is obviously a good sign. What do you see out of the Giants game?
You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
You need to see what the injury report's going to look like, obviously.
You like the Giants to win. You like the Giants to win.
I think the Giants are live in the game.
Yeah.
I actually do. I think they could win on Monday night. And you guys know, like, I do not come on here and say that, like, unless I believe it. I am not a homer. Like, I will pick against them if I have to. I will say they suck when they suck. I don't care about Saquon playing in the game. I would like for him to play, but like ultimately, like, running backs are irrelevant. Like Dearness Johnson like proves that last Thursday, one on like a string of proving that running backs don't really matter in the National Football League unless we're talking like Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey here. But if Kenny Golladay is going to play along with Kadarius Toney, I really think Daniel Jones is sitting on like what could be a monster statistical offensive game on Monday night against our old pal Spags and that atrocious Kansas City defense. Like, I'm starting Daniel Jones in a couple fantasy leagues this week where like I have like Lamar Jackson on bye. Like, I picked up Daniel Jones to play him this week. I think the Giants are going to be able to score. So like if Golladay is going to play, if they could get Saquon too, even though he's the least important of the three, in my opinion, I think the Giants can absolutely score, cover the spread, keep it close against Kansas City. I will also add that if you out there, if you like the Giants, I think it correlates to a play on the over. I don't know that the Giants can cover a game that goes under the total against Kansas City. Like, I don't know if that's possible here. So I think that Giants and the over correlates here as potentially a parlay. I'm not saying like to do that. I'm just saying that kind of thinking out how the game's going to unfold here. So if the injury report's going to be good and the Giants are going to get guys back here, definitely a play for me on the Giants plus 10. I would even do plus 9.5. And I think the Giants are live in the game. May God have mercy on my soul.
There you go.
Well, the last time you said this was the Saints game.
Yeah.
And they won.
That's
true. I know.
Yeah, you've been on target with the Giants for the most part this year, Nick. Couple quarterback situations coming into clarity. Let's start in Cleveland. Browns and Steelers. Browns right now are a 3.5-point home favorite, and news came out that Baker Mayfield cleared to play. He will start for the Browns. Does that change your opinion one way or the other when you look at this matchup?
No, because I think that like torn labrum Baker is probably like the equivalent of Case Keenum. And we said that last week prior to like the Browns game against the Broncos. Like I think the line should like remain exactly where it is. if I do a little refresh here on Play Sugar House, I can tell you what the exact line is here. I believe it's still 3.5, which is what I feel like is the right number. Now, we did talk about this game on You Better You Bet, myself and Ken Barkley, on Monday when this line opened like Browns -3, which was like a crazy opener. And we bet the Browns there. Still for me is like only a bet on Cleveland. Even if Denzel Ward doesn't play in the game, their star corner doesn't look like he's going to play. They promoted a couple corners from their practice squad today. So I doubt that he's going to play. I just think Cleveland is just flat out better than Pittsburgh. Like the roster is better than Pittsburgh. And I think we're probably getting a little bit of a discount here. And it's an unlucky schedule spot for Pittsburgh and a lucky one for Cleveland. Pittsburgh's coming off their bye, but they don't get the full rest advantage that like a lot of teams coming off their bye get, because Cleveland has the mini bye following the Thursday night game last week against Denver. So Cleveland with 10 days to get healthy here. So Pittsburgh loses some of that rest advantage that teams off the bye normally get. So for me, it's Cleveland or nothing, but full disclosure, I've got 3. I've got a better number. I would not bet the Steelers in this game against the Browns.
Okay, Nick, we ask you every week for some of your best bets. What do you got for us in week 8?
Man, this one's going to be a tough sell after what we saw last week. When Sam Darnold and the Panthers made the Giants look like the 2000 Ravens, right, in Super Bowl 35 against our beloved G-men. I like Carolina +3 on the road in Atlanta. Just like this number can never be 3. It just can't. Like, it's a bet that I'll make 100 times out of 100. It doesn't mean it's definitely going to win, but Carolina +3 is an easy bet to make. I think this is bounce back spot for Sam Darnold against a brutal, brutal Falcons defense here. Now, Matt Ryan could have success as well. I like some player props in this game. I'll talk about that on the Sunday morning show here. You Better You Bet on the Fan, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But Panthers +3 is a really easy bet to make. I can run through a couple here that I like.
Yeah.
I really like the Eagles. I hate betting on them, and I find that I do it a lot, but it's just, I can never get to 3 or 3.5 being the number in this game. Detroit is so bad. And like, I get like no one wants to back Philly. Like no one wants to back the Eagles. I understand, especially after last week against the Raiders, couldn't even cover the teaser numbers here. Just that like this number can't be 3 or 3.5. So like, I have to bet the Eagles here. In fact, I did bet the Eagles. So I'll be on Philadelphia. I bet the Colts earlier in the week when they were plus. They're -3 now. I can tell you guys the reason why the Colts have ballooned out to 3 against the Titans for people that are wondering how that can be the case. Titans coming off back-to-back wins over the Bills and Chiefs. A couple of really influential bettors that move markets all bet Indianapolis last night, which is why we've seen that number balloon out to 3. If you like the Colts, I don't think you can bet that number. Maybe wait for it to come back down if money comes in on Tennessee. So if you like the Titans, I would bet them now. I don't think this number ever gets above 3. If you like the Colts, I would wait, see if money comes in on the Titans to push that number down before we reach kickoff. I like the Saints on Sunday, +4.5 at home against the Buccaneers. This number was 5.5 a couple days ago. I like the Saints still at +4.5. And I like the under as well. I think this is going to be a lower scoring defensive game as much as you could get one in a game involving Tom Brady. So I'm on the Saints here +4.5. And I love the over in the Washington-Denver game, 44.5 as well. Like both offenses there in that game to have success in a low-totaled game on Sunday afternoon.
All right, want to ask you about a couple others, Nick, and get your thoughts on them. Number one, what do you do with the questionable status of Dak Prescott, Cowboys-Vikings, with Minnesota being a 3-point home favorite?
So this is a really interesting, not just on-field handicap. And like, I don't do this a lot, like in either on You Better or on radio hits, because it doesn't really matter to the casual listener, but I actually feel like it's really interesting here. It's a game of like sports bet or cat and mouse going on right now here. So yesterday, Dallas was like a 1.5, 2-point favorite. And now Minnesota's a 3-point favorite. And we don't know for sure whether or not Dak's going to play or not. So basically what's happened is sports bettors have weighed in and have bet a lot of money on the fact that Dak Prescott's not playing in the game. And we don't know that that's the case or not. Dak could end up playing in the game. And if that's the case, then those bets are probably going to lose, right? With Minnesota as a favorite here against the Dallas Cowboys. Here's what I can tell you for sure. If Dak does not play in this game and Cooper Rush starts for the Dallas Cowboys, this line is not closing at 3. I think it could hit as high as 6. I think it hits minimum 4.5 for the Minnesota Vikings. Like if Dallas is going to be 2 on the road with Dak starting, like it is a precipitous drop off from Dak to basically any backup, but especially one like Cooper Rush. So it's really like the question for you, the listener and viewer, to figure out, like, what's your risk tolerance here? Do you feel like Dak's not going to play in the game based on what you read in the tea leaves, reading quotes from Dak? If you think that's the case, I really think you can still bet on Minnesota here because you're still going to get the best of the number, but you do run the risk if you bet the Vikings here. If Dak plays and if he's healthy, like you are probably losing that bet if you make it here. So I think it's a really interesting game of cat and mouse going on with sports bettors and sports books right now with incomplete information as it regards Dak Prescott.
All right, to Los Angeles, Patriots and the Chargers. Pats are getting 4 on the road, Nick. Chargers, we know how good Herbert is and what that offense can do. I know you're a big fan of their head coach and Staley. What about this matchup?
A slight lean for me towards the New England Patriots. Like stylistically, I think it kind of lines up for New England, where the Chargers' defensive MO with Brandon Staley, whether it's now with the Chargers or last year when he was the defensive coordinator of the Rams, he's going to let you run the ball in exchange for giving up big plays down the field. Guess what the Patriots can't do? Generate big plays down the field. And you know what they want to do? They want to run the ball with Damian Harris. So I think the number's like pretty much right. When it was 5.5, I'm like, well, that seems like a little crazy. Now it's 4.5, even 4. If you're in a pick'em pool, like I would only play the Patriots. Not one of my favorite plays of the week, but New England or nothing for me against the Chargers on Sunday.
Nick, I just want to know if you can tell our audience what you said to me right before you came on air.
What about like maybe that like Tibbs sucks as the Knicks head coach?
Stop with the nonsense.
I mean, he doesn't suck. Like he's awesome and like the Knicks are good. But I mean, Moose, can we acknowledge the fact that like what I said was,
what you said
I want Tibbs to coach.
Can someone else coach the last 5 minutes of the game?
Yeah.
Like Tibbs can coach until like midway through the fourth quarter, and then he goes to the locker room and someone else comes in and coaches the final couple minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Like it's can we acknowledge like it almost happened against the Knicks have been lucky twice now this season to not blow it against Boston and then last night against Chicago.
Great
like the Randall ISO ball has got to stop, Moose. It's got to stop.
There is going to be a adjustment. Nick, the team is 4-1.
I agree.
The team is 4-1. Thibodeau
I'm happy.
Has brought the Knick
This
fan
is
out of the
Kostos
abyss. They brought the Knick fan out of the abyss.
Moose.
You want a Hornacek coach of this team?
Moose.
The triangle.
Game 1 against the Moose. Game 1. Frank Ntilikina was like eating croissants and smoking cigarettes in Paris prior to game 1 against the Hawks. And Tom Thibodeau subs him in for the critical play of the game against Trae Young.
So Thibodeau's now being judged by basically what they did last year against the Hawks?
I will forever judge Matt LaFleur on kicking a field goal in the NFC Championship game and giving the ball back to Tom Brady because it's just a catastrophically stupid move. Like, that's a catastrophically stupid move from Tibbs. Like, I'm not saying
I'm
Tibbs
should lose.
Like, I like Tibbs.
I'm going to judge LaFleur. Not giving the ball to A.J. Dillon last night. You should have given the ball to Dillon.
It's funny how like they're almost like LaFleur's a really good coach. Like in game, he is brutal. Yeah. He is a terrible in game coach, and so is Kingsbury. By the way, that was not a great watch last night. But we had the Packers, so that was a winner. But like, is that so much to ask for? Can we get can the Knicks not be brain dead in the final? It's like a Benny Hill routine out there in the final couple of minutes of these games. Like, is it too much to ask that the team can look organized down the stretch?
You know what? They're the second best run franchise in New York City, Nick.
Moose thinks they're a better run than the Yankees.
Oh, no doubt.
Of course they're better run than the Yankees. It's not even close.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
I heard you guys talking about texted Moose. I was like, you're right about that. Of course the Knicks are better run than the Yankees.
Exactly.
If you guys want to talk about the last 10 minutes,
you're exactly
sure.
right.
In the last 10 minutes, they're better run than the Yankees.
I'm in the here and now.
The Yankees just extended Aaron Boone. What are we talking? Of course the Knicks are better run than the Yankees. Not even close.
By the way, Nick, just on a side, what was AJ Green doing last night?
I feel like AJ's been dead for a couple years, and we may have just realized it at the end of the game last night. Like he's still got the Bengal flu. I feel like right now. I'll tell you what, like
if
you
he
bet
just turns around, he catches the ball. Like all he had to do was turn around.
It honestly would have been like just desserts for the Packers to lose that game with how brutally LaFleur managed it down the stretch. But I mean, it's not like Kingsbury did a better job. But yeah, that's AJ Green, man. AJ Green hasn't been good for years. He stunk for years. So like, I'm not really surprised how that went down at the end of the game.
Nick, you're a blast.
Thank you, Nick.
Appreciate it. Have a good show today with Ken. All right.
By the way, I like the Dolphins to cover against Maggie's Bills on Sunday. Also,
you know, I do too.
Do?
I do too.
I do.
So
at 14,
I don't think they're going to win the game. I hope they don't win the game because obviously, you know, their Bills are already coming off of a bad loss, and you want to get this right here. But 14 feels like a lot. It's not like Tua's been awful.
I think he's been pretty good, actually. Honestly, like all things considered, he was good last week against Atlanta. I'm not saying the Dolphins are going to win, but 14, yeah, give me the Dolphins here, man. And I just want to reiterate, Moose is so right about the Knicks being better run than the Yankees. Like, he's so right about that. It's just a fact, man.
Nick, you and I will agree about Tibbs. We will disagree about the Yankees.
That's it.
That's where we're at.
I would rather have Worldwide West and Leon Rose running the Yankees than Brian Cashman. Not even close.
Nick, we love you. Appreciate it, brother.
All right. Yeah. Wishing every minimal sweat, swing bets, and all that jazz. Talk to you later.
Yeah, talk to you next week.